you need more time to set up?
Whenever you're ready, it's recording.
Okay. Shalom, family. Go ahead and get started. I'm sure people join in. First, I want to give all praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. Shout out to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. First, I want to thank y'all for y'all's patience. I know we missed two episodes of uh, Jacob's Trouble, and that was due to travel and scheduling conflicts and things like that. And so, appreciate y'all's patience. So we're gonna pick it right back up, and we should be good to go moving forward. So, I just want to give a recap over the what we've done so far. So we've had 12 lessons regarding Jacob's Trouble. That is, what is it? How do we prepare for it in the spirit? How do we prepare for it in the natural? Some things to consider. Different types of scenarios, power outage, cyber attack, EMPs, different types of skills that we could use to, or that we should learn in the spirit and in the natural to bolster, our preparedness. Spirit, having the right mindset. We discussed um, scripture memorization, fasting, praying. The keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and in the natural, we discuss some of the more skills in the natural: fire making, cooking, baking, child care, wound care, first aid, self defense, water storage, water purification. So we've covered a large gambit of the things that one should look for or should at least be cognizant about concerning the last days. We did, hyperinflation and things like that, food storage, food rotation, intro to gardening. All those are valuable skills, and of course the spirit. I mean the spirit is definitely the most important, and definitely should not be neglected in lieu of people storing food, guns, whatever whatever way you're preparing. The spirit and being in the will of the Most High should be the priority. Um, so within that 12 lessons, we did a new segment regarding Jacob's Trouble called Analyzing Jacob's Trouble. It's where we take various films and TV shows to extrapolate relevant lessons regarding Jacob's Trouble and what we can learn from it and apply. We've done 5 episodes so far covering various short films, featured films, episodes of TV shows, and things like that. So tonight, without further ado, welcome to episode 6 of Analyzing Jacob's Trouble. Tonight we will cover a short film called Jameson. Now, for those who are in the telechat, I posted the link to the website, and the short film was posted, I think Sunday or Monday. It was a short film. No, it was Sunday. Excuse me. It was a short film, and this is the one we'll be covering tonight. So hopefully you got a chance to watch it. We start with a man in the woods splitting firewood next to a cabin. Now, camping and bushcraft, such as chopping wood and manipulating wood to create fire, tools, structures, will be a common thing that a lot of us will have to do. So once the grid goes down, if you get so before the grid goes down, if you get an opportunity to start practicing or at least get familiar with the basics, then now's the time. We have stated this a lot that these are a lot of that we stated this a lot that some of these skills, if you have a chance to practice or perfect, you should do it now. You do not want to be in the field during this time, and this is your first time trying to chop wood, and um, it could cause some serious injuries if you don't know what you're doing, or if you have an accident. Now, we won't get a chance to practice and try everything we think we would need, but you don't want to, again, you don't want to have serious accidents when emergency services are down. So, within this film, we see Jameson. chopping wood, and later we see him harvesting carrots and tending to his garden. By the way the garden is set up, it appears that he is proficient in gardening, which is something else we should be familiar with. Whatever we covered this in the class of Intro to Gardening. So if you had a chance to start something, something is better than nothing. So I would, suggest if you haven't done that, you should. Um, we then see him walking in the woods, and he he's going to one of his traps. Now, this is one of the traps where it appears he caught a rabbit, and then we see him skin it, and he's cooking it inside his cabin. Now, we already know what's going to happen to those who are caught eating abominations when Christ returns in Isaiah 66:15-17. We later see him starting a fire in a wood burning stove, and smoke is coming from the chimney. Now, wood burning stoves is, that's a very old way of cooking, but it's very proficient, way of cooking. Now, as he's cooking and we see the smoke coming from his chimney, we then see some men in the woods noticing the smoke and stop when they see. We see a man, one of the guys in the group. He raises his hand for the men to stop. Now, this type of signal is what we civilians typically see in movies, where the commander holds up his fist and the unit behind him, stops and they get in position. This is a really good idea to practice if you're with a group, so you don't need to yell, be quiet, get down, and potentially give away your position. They again see the smoke and start to head in that direction. Now, first here, I have to call BS. And I have to say, this was only done so that the movie could go forward. The smoke from a wood burning stove to show that high in the sky is not realistic. And that type of smoke signal, that type of smoke from a wood burning stove would not be able to be seen from that distance, especially since we see them viewing the smoke from across the lake, and it's appearing above tall trees. So for you to see that type of smoke, that is typically if you're seeing a forest fire or a building is burning or something like that, but not from a wood burning stove. He's not doing a bonfire. So for that, I would have to call BS. But just to know, if someone has a cabin or they have a wood burning stove, it's not going to be that high in the sky and that distinct. Now, if that was the case, what we saw here being realistic, Jameson would have many, many visitors. And so, about the smoke, this is something that we should mention about smoke in general, concerning, especially, now that we're seeing a lot of wildfires and, smoke get away your position. So, this is the thing I found regarding smoke. Smoke is the byproduct of the fuels that is burning. The color of the smoke indicates to firefighters the type and density of the fuels involved, all of which give hints as to what the fire might do next. White smoke can often mean material is off-gassing moisture in water vapor, meaning the fire is just starting to consume material. White smoke can also indicate light and flashy fuels such as grass or twigs. Thick black smoke indicates heavy fuels that are not being fully consumed. At times, black smoke can be an indicator that a man-made material is burning, such as tires, vehicles, or a structure. As a general rule, the darker the smoke, the more volatile the fire is. Gray smoke can indicate that the fire is slowing down and running out of materials to burn. So hopefully that was helpful regarding the different types of smoke we see in the news, and we may see when the time comes. Now back to the story. We later see Jameson cooking when an alarm goes off in his cabin. He then goes to some security monitors and see 3 men approaching his cabin. Now, we discussed this earlier in an earlier Jacob's Trouble lesson on home security. Having some sort of early detection system is important. Tripwires, small battery-powered door alarms that go off when someone opens the door, for example, are all good tools to think about. The door alarms, the ones that you hear when you go into T-Mobile or some type of small store. You can get those off of Amazon. They're battery powered. You don't need ADT or some type of security system subscription. You just put them to your door. I have them at my door, my front door, and you just flip the switch and put the batteries in. So whenever you open the door, it makes an alarm or a little ding dong sound. So now, again, those are all good things to think about, especially if you're in the in his situation by himself in the woods. Now, regarding how he is powering this system, because it's if you saw the film, it's he has um, a blaring alarm goes off with a red flashing light, and he sees the computer monitors, which are being fed through cameras outside. Now, it all could be in this situation. It could be that the grid is still up, which is highly unlikely, or he has a robust solar system set to power his cabin, which, given the size of the cabin and the fact that he uses a wood oven stove for cooking, it's not unrealistic. Then he gets a shotgun and heads for the front door. He opens the door and says, "Who's out there? I don't want any trouble." Now, at this point, I said, this has got to be the stupidest thing to do. Either this guy is clueless or he knows exactly where the rest of everyone is. Now, one of the three men raises his head from the bushes asking for help. Me personally, I probably would have shot him because it was three of them walking towards my cabin, and now there's only one with his hands raised. Now, Jameson asks him, "Are you alone?" And the man lies and says, "Yeah, it's just me." This is another reason why I would have shot him, because the only reason he's lying is because he doesn't know that I know I have cameras in the woods and saw them approaching. Now, as the man gets closer, Jameson tells him to stop, yet the man keeps getting closer. This is another reason and chance to shoot him. So let's just break this down. He obviously showed that he can't be trusted because he appeared by himself, not three of them. You asked him, "Are you alone?" He lies, and you tell him to stop, and he keeps moving forward talking. Yet, Jameson continues to listen to the man, calls him out on his lies, which was obvious from the moment he appeared alone, and then he threatens the man and his friends who are still hidden at this point. The conversation gets hostile, and Jameson pulls the trigger to shoot the man, yet the shotgun wasn't cocked when he pulled the trigger, and it didn't go off. This is a classic rookie mistake that we should all avoid. Then the second man shoots an arrow at Jameson, but it misses him and hits the door. The second man who shot the arrow tries to rush at Jameson, yet Jameson cocks the shotgun and blows the man away. Which I was saying, trying to rush a man who has a shotgun is is a bad idea for many yet obvious reasons. Now, one thing to point out here: utilizing weapons that are not firearms, such as bow and arrows, knives, machetes, paintball guns, slingshots, etc., are all good options in lieu of firearms. Yet, two things to note on these types of weapons from the firearms and for the others I just listed. It will do you no good if you are not comfortable and at least practice with some of these items I listed. The machete, for example, there was one sister in the truth. She bought a machete, and she was talking about how she had a very hard time chopping wood and starting a fire. And she had a machete and she chopped some wood, and she had a fire starter. I mean, not a fire starter, a flint striker, where you have like the little metal ferro rod, and you strike it to create a spark, which will create a fire. She had a very difficult time with that. And then, just talking to her, I realized it's like, hey, you just bought that machete. Now, store bought machetes need to be sharpened. Most of them are not field ready. Some are, but most are not, that we just buy on Amazon or Walmart. So if you have that, a machete or something like that, you bought off Amazon, a sword or whatever, a machete more so, you probably should take it to a professional knife sharper. I know here in Houston at HEB, we have someone, there's a guy who, you just take him your machete or, well, machete, I don't know. I have a hatchet and I took it to him at the grocery store and, he just asked me what I was using it for. I just said camping and bushcraft, which I'm not lying. And, he sharpened it for like 15 bucks and, it was, it's pretty sharp now. But based on the reviews I saw on Amazon, everyone was saying this is a really good hatchet. However, you need to get it sharpened because the manufacturer didn't sharpen it. They just, they put a little, edge on it, but it's not going to do you any good in the field. So, same thing with a machete. So I told her, I was like, "Did you get that sharpened?" She said, "No." And I was like, "Well, that's your problem." And I was like, "Well, what type of wood were you cutting?" And she was telling me the type, and I said, "Oh, okay." So if you're cutting freshly cut wood, the wood is still wet because it's still getting moisture from the tree. It's alive. So when you see people chopping firewood and all that stuff, that wood is dead, it's dried, and it's been seasoned. Seasoned is you'll see that if you're looking up firewood or um, um, do anything like that, you will see the word seasoned. Seasoned just means it's dried. And some of it, typically the firewood that we buy has been seasoned for at least a year or at least a complete, growing season or whatnot. So, and then with the ferro rod, I explained to her, you got to shave off the paint because the paint is to protect the rod. It's not, you're not going to start a spark from that. So, her experience, definitely learned her, she definitely learned a lot, which, it's good to learn this lesson now versus, thinking I got my machete, I got my ferro rod, and I'm going to go chop freshly cut, I'm going to chop, a tree that is still alive. And you're going to have a very difficult time as this sister experienced. So I'm sure she learned a lot from that. And the thing is, even if you fail, like she did, she learned a lot. She learned exponentially, from that experience. Even if she wouldn't have talked to me or anyone else, she would have learned a lot. She would have done some research and figured out why she having problem chopping this tree and then starting this fire. So that's why I want people to even practice as much as you can, so you can at least learn from those mistakes. Because heaven forbid, we're in Jacob's trouble and she goes through that same process, the stress level would be exponentially greater. So that is just something to think about. And with that, even with fire, when you see people on YouTube or whatever starting a fire from whatever's out there, those are a lot of things they're using to get it started is dead twigs, dead branches. So if you see trees that are on the ground or leaned over, those are dead. So those are be pretty good ways to start a fire. But in any event, whether you have a machete or a knife or a bow and arrow, practice it. If you're going to have those as options in lieu of firearms. Now back to the story. The third man starts shooting at the door as Jameson tries to close it. The two remaining men approach it as Jameson pulls a lever. As Jameson pulls the arrow out of the door and shuts the door, the two men approach it, and then Jameson pulls a lever from inside the cabin, and then shutters start protecting the window after he pulled the lever. We see the third man call the leader Shelby and tells him there's no use because Shelby is trying to beat down the door. Shelby yells in frustration as he bangs at one of the shutters. Getting emotional in a situation like this is extremely dangerous because you are not thinking clearly and you will make mistakes. Consider we are talking about Jacob's trouble. These mistakes will be fatal for you and anyone that is with you. We see the other man look at the dead body of his friend while Shelby really doesn't care. Which self-preservation and selfishness will be the way of life for those who are not in the truth. The men walk around the house and the other says, "Hey, let's cut our losses and get out of here. We only have about an hour of daylight left." Now, in a situation like that, it would be wise to pick the food from the garden as someone else keep watch and then leave. Now, some people we see in this case will be stubborn and keep trying to get in, or some people might just try to burn the house down. Now, Jameson warns the men to leave from a loudspeaker. He's inside his cabin. He's on a loudspeaker, warning the men to leave, which we have to note here. There are only so many warnings we're going to get before and during Jacob's trouble. And if we get emotional, we will not see the warnings, nor will we take heed. Jameson says, "Hey, it's getting dark." We know what that means. Now, at this point, the audience do not know what that means. But in any case, in any disaster, in the last of days situation, you do not want to be outside at night. Traveling at night is very dangerous and only advised if absolutely, positively no other option. You can't see holes in the ground, wild animals. You can't see any traps by other people. Temperatures drop at night, so it's colder depending on what time of year. So if night is approaching, you want to start setting up your camp or seek shelter. Shelby says to his friend, "We got this." And his friend responds, "No, we do not have this, not unless we leave right now." Now, if you become the emotional one, it is best to take a deep breath and listen to reason. Shelby ignores him and sees a way up top through a window. He climbs up and tries to grab the ledge, but his hand is caught on nails that Jameson set up. Shelby pricks his hand and falls down, getting his leg caught in a bear trap. His refusal to listen is just adding to his troubles. Getting caught in a bear trap, I do not need to say, will be a very painful way to get caught. While in agony, Shelby's friend, who I will add is a very good friend, runs to the front door of Jameson asking for help, which in my opinion is pretty bold. The man y'all tried to rob and kill, you now want him to help you. Jameson opens the door with his shotgun, we can assume is cocked at this point, and tells the man to lose the guns, and he and only he, or him, can go, but Shelby has to stay. The man begs, but Jameson says only you can go, and that's the deal. Jameson then goes to the friend we see run off, and Jameson then goes to an injured Shelby and drags him from the cabin and ties him up. As Shelby pleads, Jameson tells him, "Well, my daughter needs to feed." We then see a sister coming from the woods looking void of humanity in a vampire zombie-like state, and then she kills and eats Shelby. We later see Jameson back in his cabin having a drink while looking at a photograph of him and his daughter. And, it's his daughter. She looks like a Jake, but, some things to point out. Now, regarding his daughter, even though she looks like one of us, she is from Edom, unless she was adopted. But given who her father is, so she could be from Edom if that was his biological daughter, or not if she was adopted. However, this could speak to our people who seek to join or to cleave to Edom in these last days. In this case, our sisters specifically will become their pets, as we saw in the film, someone who needs to be fed and, at the whims of the owner of the whoever's in charge. Now, or cleaving to Edom in these last days, your life will be constantly put in danger, as we saw with Sierra from the Walking Dead short film called The Passage. So, in conclusion, what do we have? We have Jameson, who went off grid into his cabin during the apocalypse with his daughter, who succumbed to whatever plague turned her into what she is. Jameson, a man who made a life out of routine, gardening, hunting, and living. A man who made a few mistakes in his encounter with Shelby and his crew that in any real life situation, he wouldn't have lived to tell the tale. We then have Shelby, an emotional, ambitious marauder who's willing to sacrifice members of his own group to get what he wants. A man who countless times wouldn't listen to reason and to cut his losses up until it was too late and he got caught in one of Jameson's traps. Jameson is a man who found security in his carnal supplies of a cabin, security systems, guns, and traps. A type of security that will benefit no one. A type of security that will not benefit anyone who isn't marked by the Most High, who he deems worthy enough to escape what's to come as we enter Jacob's trouble. So at this point, I'll yield and pass it over to Mike or Ben if something you want to add, something you saw, or your thoughts on the film before we move on to the next one.
Um, I would say the main thing I got from Jameson was one, his preparation. Like, he had the screens and the monitors set up. Um, I forget, like the windows, he had like the shields basically for the windows. Everything was protected. He had everything set up. So my main point would be from that film that, we need to have all our ducks in order, everything in a row, as well as, never trust thine enemy. Um, you know, they tried to basically take over his house, steal from him, rob him, and they couldn't, basically because he had a fortress set up. So, that's how we have to be, in the spirit of the Most High. But with that, I yield.
Con, and that's a really good point. Our For us, the children of Israel, I mean, we have to learn. It's better to get this lesson learned now. Like the rules of what's going on now and what's coming is different than what will most people be, because we see this a lot. We see this on Instagram and YouTube. They got their bunkers and all this other stuff, but if they don't have the Most High, that place is going to be taken, and then one of us are going to be walking by in the woods and say, "Oh, look at this empty house," and it'll be a blessing from the Most High. But the just from a carnal, I guess, natural standpoint, yes, he wasn't too smart by opening the door again. Seeing, engaging and then continuing to engage after you knew they were lying. But from the other men, if you're the thing you want is food, is he had a garden, so you should have just picked it and moved on. But to show that your intentions were not pure, for one, you show up, you know, um, now even showing up by yourself, like Shelby, just hey, it's just me. I wouldn't fault him for that too much, and only because you don't know who you don't know if it's one guy in there or 20. So you don't want people from your group to be you know killed or taken. So having one person to go and say, hey, I just want just scope it out and say, hey, let me just see if this person is friend or foe, whatever, blah blah blah. I don't fault him at that point too much, even though what I will, fault him, of course you're lying, that's going to be common. And then, you're telling your friend to kill him. Okay, then, it's definitely on. So, from that standpoint of initially, like, if it's a group of us and, one or two of us say, let's go check out the house, you guys stay here. I would definitely lie and say, no, it's just me. But if it's friendly, it'd be, I don't know about that. But like you said, never trust your enemy. I would have to know that this is if it's a Jake, then yeah. But, if it's Edom, no, definitely not trusting him. And I'm not going to give away more information than I have to. But I was speaking of that from a point of Jameson, seeing the guy, he's lying, his friends have guns, and you don't know where two of them are. That could be very dangerous for you. If there's anyone from the audience, what do you think? But like Mike, what did you think overall of the film? If there's anyone else have any other comments, we can bring you up before I move on to the next one.
If y'all can hear me.
I
Um,
can hear you now.
yeah. So I thought it was, I was actually looking at the things that he prepared, and one of the main things that I noticed about it is that a lot of our houses is very, I would say, vulnerable. As they stand now, a lot of us live in neighborhoods that are not, you know, not really safe to even fortify your house, and because, you got so many people around you, and it's according like to what type of property you have. But the main thing I saw about him is that like he had his area laid out. I thought that was like just the vantage point of his house, like he can see in certain angles, of course with the cameras as well. But even like he had traps set up and things like that. So, it wasn't just like a vulnerable position, because even that window that was available at the top, the dude thought he had a way in, and lo and behold, he was caught, he was snared in that trap. And the dude kept telling him, "Yo, you need to leave, you need to be out," but he ain't listen. So he ended up where he thought that the guy was bait. He ended up being bait. Um, I would think that one of the main things that it shows you, I guess, for me, more than just fortifying your house, you should fortify the area around your house, or have that set up as well. Like if you are, and we know understand about, we may not be in our houses or things like that, but that's the main thing people want to do, is just fortify their house. But like you said, if your house is just fortified, people can set your house on fire and things like that. There's certain things that they can do. So, you also want to make sure, like, if you can set up things around your area, know your what's the word I'm looking for? But basically, know your surroundings. You should know your property. Have a way out as well. You don't just want to be, if in case you got to get out. Survey the area, go through your yard and all types of things like that. It should be. I want to make my area like the Terror Dome. Of course, you have the faith of Yahweh Bashem Shai, but you just don't want to fortify your house. You prepare the field first, and then you build a house. I think the Bible says that. So, yeah, I think it's in Proverbs. Proverbs, I believe. I think believe it's in Proverbs, but it basically tells you to prepare thy field and then build thy house. So, he had a dope setup, but also the area I noticed around with the guys. I
Con, and with that, and I gotta say this too. So some people are like, oh, I don't have a house in the woods. I don't have this. I live in an apartment or whatever. The Most High knows that. So even within the apartment, use what you have, like the little door alarm that you can just put on your front door to add extra security, or the door bar to like kind of jam up against the handle. Small stuff like that. Of course, emphasis is on faith in your Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, of course. But that's and one thing I wanted to point out, I'm glad you guys said this because it brought up, like, even in the cabin in the woods is not going to be 100% safe, bulletproof, and you're going to just rot out the apocalypse. I mean, you may, if that's what the Lord wants. But um, when we saw this film, and then we saw the film, the first one we did on the first analyzing Jacob's Trouble, Aftermath. Like, the opening scene was, some guys found a cabin in the woods and they just kicked the door down and shot it up, and then they robbed the guy and left. These places, these people that are, bragging about their bunkers and all the food they got, it's going to get exposed. I mean, it's just a matter of time. That's prideful to think, oh, I got all this, and I don't, I got all the bullets and all the guns, and it's just not realistic. Somebody somewhere who's been in that part of the woods before is going to find that place. So the realtor who sold it to you will probably show up. So, I'm just the everything we talk about, here is, they're tools to be used. They're not, your saving grace. The Most High is, our Savior. So, um, if there's any other comments or concern, I'm not any concerns, but any other comments or questions or things you thought about this film. If not, I can move on to the next one, because this one kind of plays perfectly into Jameson. Okay, moving right on. So in the next film for tonight's lesson, analyzing Jacob's Trouble, we start at it's a post-apocalyptic wasteland. The name of this film is called Isolated. It's on the website as well. Now, at the beginning, it states that there's some commentary. It says the world has succumbed to a pandemic, and in short, the people have become the biggest threat. at this time. It says 90% of the world has been succumbed to the pandemic, and the 90% of the world's population has been wiped out. But the biggest threat has become the people. And this comment is right. The people are, way worse than, what we commonly experience, in terms of, plagues and pandemics. The way people act are, are worse and will be worse as, supplies and things of that nature dwindle. So in the first scene, we see a man in a bunker, or it looks like a basement, and has no windows. We see him checking his supplies, which by the looks of it, don't seem like much. We see a sleeping bag on the floor, and to know whatever you pack as you use it, I mean, your supplies are going to dwindle. So, not to be despaired, but the Most High has, He's got us. We see him checking his guns, and he puts some of the bullets in the it looks like an ammo can. Now, one thing to know, you can ask any third world country this: the food will run out before the bullets will, and that is just something that's a true statement in most third world countries, and America's not that far off. So low ammo, we see that now, and it's definitely going to pick up as people start using it more and more. So the next scene, the man, we see him writing some notes with a ring finger. He's taking notes and then writing the days and the years since the pandemic. Now, during this time, you know, we have weekdays, weekends, holidays, PTO. Days are just going to run into days, especially when the power goes out, or if the power goes out during this time. Days are just going to run to congruent. And, a lot of people will lose track of time, and it's just going to be night and day. Now, we next see him a montage of him punching a bag, working out, checking his gun, and this routine repeats itself for a few moments in this film. Now, this man's routine in comparison to Jameson's routine is night and day. Jameson had a more open air routine, gardening. That's the very therapeutic. Going to his traps, checking his traps, and cooking inside of a house, wood fire stove, and having a drink. This man's routine is a lot more mundane, and it is not unrealistic considering what may be coming down the road. So we see the next scene, this man is looking at a picture of what we can assume to be his dead wife. He puts it back in the folder, and then he continues with his routine. We then hear something outside, so he gets his gun, and he gets closer to the door to see what the noise is. The noise is followed by a knock of a woman asking for help. He quickly answers, "I just want to be left alone." And this again is a warning. Okay. Then the woman says, "I do not want any trouble. I just need some help." The man responds, "I don't care. Just go away." This exchange continues for a while, and as the conversation grows or continues, the woman sounds more and more desperate. The man warns her to leave, which, in my opinion, at this point, he has already lost. She then says, "It's late, I just need a place to stay." He then moves to the front of the door, and says, "I'm not messing around. If you touch this door, I will blow you away." She immediately calls his bluff by continually begging to come in, saying, "Please, I am begging you. I have a baby," which is followed by a baby crying. He then asks, "How do I know you're not infected?" Which, of course, she says, "I'm not." Now, based on the type of pandemic we are in, there is no way of knowing without any visible and physical signs. So there's no indication from this film what type of pandemic we're dealing with. But of course, how do I know you're infected? I'm not. There's no way of knowing unless there's some visible scars or signs. But in any case, the rate of survival for this man is dwindling. And I mean, we're looking at this through the point of view of the man. Um, we can also change at this point. We can change the point of view from the woman. Her survival is dwindling because she doesn't know what is on the other side of the door. So both are at a disadvantage. So um, this is at a slight, very gross disadvantage. But we're going to continue from the point of view of the man. The rate of survival for this man is dwindling. His chances of success of getting out of this is slimmer and slimmer. The attic/bunker gives him no means of seeing what is outside. He has too many blind spots. So to entertain this conversation this long with this woman is it's even more deadly. Okay. She could have 4 or 5 guys outside. They could be surrounding his place. They could be breaking in from a different angle. Again, it appears like it's an attic, but if it's from a house, I mean, not an attic, a basement. Excuse me, basement. Um, anyway, in any event, she could be with a group and they're getting their way in. So entertaining this convo for him is very dangerous. Yet he finally agrees to let her in and he configures a way to open the door slowly from a safe distance. Now, I thought this was a smart idea. However, he's still in front of the door as he, has this little contraption tying, some paracord to the knob and opening the door from a distance around a pillar. You know, um, it was a good idea. I didn't think of that, but when he opens the door, he's still in front of it, which is dangerous. Now, the second she saw gets a foothold in, she blows him away with a shotgun. She enters his bunker, and we see the basket where the baby wasn't a baby, but merely a digital recorder playing cries of a baby. So, in conclusion, what do we have? We have a man who just wanted to be left alone, who was just buying his time in the days of this pandemic. A man who obviously lost someone, a wife, but his nature got the best of him of being kind-hearted and you know wanting to help. As she saw the wolf came knocking on his door, and she continued until she got in and blew his house down. Now this now she saw the lady. We've seen this character before in all the films I've played, planes I've shown so far concerning analyzing Jacob's Trouble. This is not, based on, Leo's personal selection of not liking white women. So I'm picking all the films that have white women as the villain and posting them in the. No, no, no. I'm literally saying, oh, this is a good movie and we should analyze it. However, there's a common theme that we are seeing with these films that, there's certain type of person specifically is not the unlike Shelby, forcing his way in, getting emotional, getting angry. You got 3 men that can't take down one house. However, you have one woman with no weapon just kindly knocking at the door saying, "Little pig, let me in. And by the way, I have a baby outside. I just need some help. I need a place to stay." That's the same thing we saw from the movie Leftovers. That same, um, snake-like behavior that many will see during the time of Jacob's Trouble. So, with that, it was very interesting, and I will yield. For those who are asking, this is on the website. The film is called Isolated. I placed the films I cover in analyzing Jacob's Trouble. I placed the newest ones up top. So when you go to the website, the film at top is the most one that I'll be covering, and I'll put out the link to those who are in the telechat or follow me on social media. So if you go to the website Yaya Quab's Trouble, you will see Isolated, and then right below that you will see Jameson. So with that, I yield. Mike or Ben, if you want to get in, let me know your thoughts on this. And one point before you get in, Mike. I'm sorry. We as we watched this movie, we said, yeah, right. This is full of crap. They ain't no baby, or yeah, right. He's about to get robbed, or yeah, right. This guy, this woman, she's the devil. Blah blah blah. We all said that from the comfort of our home, watching this film. The question is, when you're in that exact situation, it's easy to say now. I want us to take a moment and think about this. When we're in this situation, and there's no one to call. There's no one. Is literally you and someone you don't know if she's an Edomite or not. You may try to assume based off her voice or whatever, but you're not 100% sure. Someone comes knocking saying, I need your help. Please let me in. And then you hear a baby crying. You don't know if it's fake. You don't have any way to look. You don't have a peephole. You don't have cameras you don't have cameras like Jameson. Hey, put the baby up to the camera. Let me see. You don't have any of that. But someone comes knocking. What do you do? Again, it's very easy to say from this vantage point, hell no, cock that gun and blow her away. So again, what do you do? Mike, Ben, you have a comment on this film, and I would like to know. Like, it's easy for this answer now, but when someone comes knocking, because it's very easy. But I would like to know what you think of this film, and what are your thoughts on that question?
Great film. Um, I would say just because how I was raised, I've seen gangs use women basically for you know when they join basically to carry out crimes where basically people won't suspect it. Therefore, when I saw the film and I watched it, um, I only had two precepts, but I wouldn't have trusted it. Um, just point blank. And the main precept. Let me just get this one. I'll yield with this one. Ecclesiasticus 25:19. All wickedness but is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. So when I watched this film and I watched this man, trust, 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 and then she shoots him soon as he opens up the door, and then she clicks the recording of the baby crying. To me that really showcased how you know in those times a lot of women will try to use sympathy to try to get you, but we really can't trust that. If I didn't know you beforehand and if I didn't know that you were keeping the commandments, I'm not opening that door. Sorry. It is what it is, but yeah. With that, I yield.
Yeah. Oh man, when I saw this, I was like, yo, as soon as she came to the door and I heard the baby, I was like, yo, it's a recording. I'm like, it's gonna be crazy in in those days because you're gonna see stuff like this, and it's just gonna be like, what I'm saying, it's just those antennas. I already knew. I even saw the way the dude was opening, not the brother, but the dude was opening up the door. I'm like, yo, why would you even set yourself up for that? He was in a terrible position to engage, open himself up for a clean shot, opening the door. It's so many different things he could have done. Just of course, the obvious one is do not open the door. You know what I'm saying? If he wanted to open the door, I mean, he could have took a better evasive position than he took. I mean, there's so much things that was said you said about her. Like he could have asked her more questions. Just to verify. It seemed like it was just I understand the script that they had, but it was just so much things that he could have asked. It seemed like he stood there and she basically kind of talked him down. And that's one thing in that time you can't have people play on your sympathies and things like that. It's going to be a hard time, so people are going to play on your vulnerabilities, and he talking about how long he's been there, and he's not he's basically trying to tout himself as being, he's good at this, and he was terrible at that. He was the worst that you could be. But you know, I was like, I thought we was gonna get through the two videos, and I don't want to say it, that here we go, another trick by another white woman. But it's just the theme, man. I don't know with these movies. White woman is the worst creature on the planet, bro. It's like the most dangerous animal on the planet is the white woman. So you just, yo, if anything these movies teach you, avoid the white women in Jacob's trouble, and period. Now start preparing yourself. Avoid these Edomite women, man. They are deadly, bro. From the time we got here, from the time that we leave here, they are deadly, wicked creatures. But yeah, that's really all I got. It was really both of these. A lot of people in the room, I don't know if they got a chance to check it out. It wasn't long movies, but it's a lot that you can pick up just by just looking at these little tidbits that you can add just to, the relevance of, in that preparation phase of things to look out for, things not to do, just correction things, simple things like that. You may think that these little videos are not meaningful, but they are things that just as constant reminders, something that will pluck you, on the side of the head, just to remind you of never trust thy enemy, and preparation is key. Uh, Victory favors the prepared. So with
Or go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I actually had another precept. Just once again, you know, all these videos that Leo brings out, he really showcases how like the Edomite women will be during Jacob's trouble. But I want to bring out Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 24. And it says, to keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of a tongue of a strange woman. So, the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman would go back to, how the woman used the fake audio recording to lure this man in to his death. So during Jacob's trouble, we really cannot trust these women. So with that, I yield.
Con, and this is, I mean, these movies, these are made by Edomites, so this ain't Leo just making a bunch of films so where the white woman is the bad guy. That's not what I'm doing. But again, by the third film we've covered, this is episode 6. By like episode 3, I started to see a trend. I'm like, wait, what the hell? So, it is from the Twilight Zone, from a 1959 TV show, to Survive. That's the one with the desert, Leftovers, Ember, Fear the Walking Dead, The Passage, to this one. It's just a common theme that these producers, directors, and actors are displaying. Besides, especially for this, time period. But yeah, my thing. I mean, he lost when once he engaged in the conversation. Telling her to go away. And she kept saying, I'm begging you, I'm not, I just need a place to stay, blah, blah, blah. And then once that baby started crying, I said, oh, he's done. Um, you know, and of course, we see this. I mean, if he would have said, go away, and she said, I'm begging you, and he would have gotten in front of the door and started shooting and killed the woman, the movie wouldn't have happened. So, to give us 10 minutes of um, film to commentate on, that's what happened. But just some people say, man, I would have blew her away, and you say that. It's just when it's time. I mean, I pray none of us succumb to something like this. You're unfortunately a lot of our people will succumb to this. Our good nature has always been, it's something that the wicked nations will take advantage. They have taken advantage of. I mean, just because naturally we're just a loving people and we want to invite everyone and include everybody and everything, and even to it becomes our detriment. At this time, it will be like, oh, they just wanted some water, and then you just got stabbed, and now you're bleeding out, and the woman with who said, oh, the water's for her baby, turned out to be a tape recorder or something. So, unfortunately, and this is one thing, like we really have to be in the spirit, because I mean, this is literally, I mean, when it says like, we're talking about the last days, good and evil and all this stuff. These sociopaths and psychopaths are way ahead of the curve. I mean, the children of darkness are wiser than the children of light. These sociopaths and psychopaths, I'm not talking about like Shelby. Like, no, that's that guy. He survived that long based on his ammo, his guns, and his friends. But the sociopaths, these people who are they don't have an army. They just have a tape recorder and can get in your house, or leftovers. She saves you, and then you become the dinner, like that type of, I mean, they're way in the spirit when it comes in spirit of darkness. They're way on the other side. We have to pray that we are in the spirit, and the Most High is definitely with us when we come across people like this, because Shelby, that crew is easy. You can easily pick them off and pick them out of the crowd, and you know where they're staying. They're coming to rob you. It's not that obvious. But that lady preparing a table for you and feeding you with fried chicken, even though it was seasonless and everything else, and that type of beguile, that's a special kind of evil. That is evil perfected. For you to even, you didn't see the guy, you didn't go into him, oh man, it's a group of guys in here, I can't take them, none of that. She knew the second and the thing is, she knew the second he kept engaging with that conversation, because that's not her first rodeo. For her to survive that long, that wasn't her first rodeo. For her to know, okay, he's talking, I got him. Okay, I'm begging you, it's cold, I need help, and then let me hit play, and then the baby starts crying, and then he keeps talking. Not bullets coming through the thing, like as the baby's crying, he keeps talking. She knew she had him. It was just a matter of time before he opened the door. So, we could talk about guns and bullets and all this stuff all day, but if you do not have the spirit, you will definitely fall victim to a lot of this evil perfected. So, if anyone else wants to come up and give their commentary or have any questions, definitely feel free. But no, so King Ben and Mike, you say someone's knocking at the door. Please, I need a place to stay. You're just blasting.
Con, con.
Mm,
Uh,
okay.
I'm gonna ask a few questions, but going talking too long. You know what I'm saying?
Con.
Well, I won't say off rips, but I will say this. When he asked him, "Is it only you?" and then the conversation progressed, and then he said, like, it's three of us. Then I'm blasting him. So yeah.
Oh, and Jameson, yeah. When he lied, yeah. From Jameson's standpoint, like I don't again. From Jameson's point of view, I would have blasted him. But from Shelby's point of view, if I have a group of people like women and children, like no, you guys stay back. Let me go see if it's safe. Let me go see. Let me go check it out. And then if Jameson comes out, like yeah, I would say no, it's just me, because again, I don't know who's else inside that house. I don't know. I'm not trying to put my group at risk, but it'd been interesting to. It would be interesting to see. I mean, of course, we got to. There's a man feeding his zombie daughter, so that's why it played out the way it did. But it would be interesting to see if Jameson was like, okay, hey, you can go pick the garden, but you got to leave, and then it would be interesting to see Shelby's response. It showed him like, okay, great, thanks, and then Shelby by himself picks the garden, and then they leave. Then okay, but Jameson at the same time was trying to feed his daughter. So I think that's why he engaged in the first place, because I think that's why he came out, because he was trying to set a trap for them. Because if he would have just stayed inside, he could have pulled the shutters and then let them, uh, pick the place clean or whatever, try to get in, and then set his traps. But that's just my thinking. Azrael, something you wanted to add or comment? Okay, you got to move back down or moving back up. Something you want to add or comment to the film?
No, I didn't watch it as yet, but I wanted to ask a question. Was Jameson able to see that this woman was the Edomite before he opened the door?
Okay, yeah. So no, we have two different films. So Jameson is the one with Shelby and his crew. It was
Okay.
no. Okay, so yeah, with Isolated, that was the one that we just covered. No,
Okay.
he couldn't see. He was in an attic slash bunker. So no, not attic, basement. Basement. He was in a basement slash bunker. It looked more like a basement. It was a house. He could see a little bit, but he saw like the moon, but it was like blurry, so he didn't have any visibility. So to answer your question, no, he didn't know. I mean, he just heard her voice. He didn't know if she was tall, she was big, she was alone, she was, it was 50 guys surrounding the place. He was in a basement, so he had no visibility. So I
But
think, yeah,
so, quick question: is a voice the voice of a Sheetamite? Like you could tell from her voice. Let's say you were in that position, right? And you heard her voice. Would you be able to tell off the rip that this is an Edomite woman as opposed to Eve?
I would assume she was. You
Okay,
know,
I was
I
blasted.
would
Right?
I would assume she
Question.
was if I was in that position. I would assume she was based on her voice.
Well, no questions asked. I was blasting, and that's just me. You know, some brothers might have they heard the cry. I'm watching the videos now actually, but just based on how you brothers brought it down, yo, I trust no Edomite now as it stands. So judge in that day. You see what I'm saying? Yo, the Most High has me in a situation like that where I hear the voice of an Edomite woman at my door or wherever, whichever situation I'm in, whatever my geography or my location is at the time, and I have a weapon, I am blasting right away, bro. My paranoia is gonna be on 100 for any Edomite in that day, and that's just my 2 cents to add to it. But I'm gonna fall back and finish the videos. So the water.
Con. Um, and one thing I wanted to point out with these two films, the reason I normally don't, sometimes I do two films at the same time, and then other times it's just one, depending on schedules and the types of films or whatever. But I thought this would be good to add in because it shows a contrast of the same situation. Jameson is in the woods. He has a cabin. He has space. He can get food. He's got cameras. Versus this guy, we don't even know his name. Like, and that's just the way it's going to be when someone just blasts you away. You're not going to know their name, nor some people are just not going to care. But he's in a bunker. He's isolated. Hence the name of the film. He's isolated, and he's for all intents and purposes he's content. I mean, he's working out. He's punching a punching bag. He's writing his notes. He's got supplies. Not a lot, but he's content. Especially with the first thing he said to the lady, "I just want to be left alone." So he's not a marauder like the other film Shelby. He's not or this lady in this case. He's not going around robbing people. He just wants to be left alone. And unfortunately for him, he had a wolf knocking, and he wasn't able to recognize the wolf. So this is very good. And the other thing I want to point out, this definitely plays into what Brother Dominique was bringing out earlier today about waiting on the Lord. Whatever your situation is, you're just gonna have to, wait patiently and make the best of it. Whether if you're in a basement and you have enough to keep you sustained, or if you're happen to come across a cabin in the woods that's been abandoned, and that's where you guys set up. But both of these were in terms of being situation, but regarding the same thing. People from the outside trying to get in. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a short film, low budget, but he did a pretty good job, um, considering what he had to work with. So, um, is there anything else you guys wanted to add? Any comments from the audience? Questions regarding this? Comments about the film? Because if not, I don't have anything else. Ben, if you want to close us out, we will have a Jacob's Trouble next week. There's a and don't worry about content. There's players. We'll be here for a while with this, so each one is has its own perspective and differently twist or something that we can pull from. So um, you know, Lord, hopefully the Lord comes sooner, but in terms of content, we got quite a bit. Um, thinking about doing series. I don't want to do The Walking Dead. They have some short films that I found that are pretty good, but that series, this is gonna it's just it will it's been done to death. But there are some other series out there that are really good, that are kind of flew under the radar regarding this topic. So mainstream media didn't destroy it. So we'll definitely add those to the rotation. But I don't have anything else. Ben, if you want to close this out, that'd be great. But I yield.
Con. Uh, yeah, very. I thought the movies was very well picked and chose just for the times that we're moving towards. And for those that didn't see it, go to the website at Yaquab's Trouble. Um, yeah, that's YIQOB STROUBLE, YiquabsTrouble.com. And once you go there, you'll be able to see that the movie's lined up, the movie that Leo outlined for the night, as well as you can see all of the lessons, the YouTube lessons. Leo have them listed there for the Jacob's Trouble. um yeah, good job. I implore everyone to go see it and check them out. Look back at the other short films. Also, you have several movies on there that is just in relation to some of the things that we're talking about, and you can see different pointers. The brother Leo did a good job of putting this website together, easy access and very, very user friendly. So with that being said, of course, we want to give all praise to Yahweh by Shimmy Shy. And we pray that y'all have a beautiful night. That being said, Shalom.